Very valuable. I would like to present Antanas Grižas, a clinical psychologist, the creator and founder of the project Tribes. I know Antanas as a person who puts all his effort in what he believes in, and it's very important that he believes in the well-being of Lithuanian men. We'll give the floor to Antanas, and we are happy to hear his ideas about the work which is gaining momentum. Hello to everybody. Thank you, Said, for the introduction. Hello to the most patient participants who have waited until the end. I'm happy to be here to speak about our work. We are proud of it. I think that we are contributing to the prevention of suicides among men in Lithuania. I'm very happy about this part of our conference. Now I will share the screen with you. We will be speaking about the project Tribes and everything that is related to tribes. I will speak about myself, about my context. I'm a clinical psychologist. I worked with suicide prevention previously. I participated in the Kupiškis project. I work in the youth hotline. I was a board member in the Crisis Management Center. I am a lecturer in ASSIST. I participate in the Association of Suicide Prevention. Some lessons that I have learned. It is very important to base everything on the research, on the science in interventions and in the prevention of suicide. It is also very important to apply the knowledge on the social level. I could work with my knowledge personally, but it's very important to work socially. So the Kupiškis project, the youth hotline, and ASSIST, these projects are very important in the sense that we can work in a social way. I also have learned that you can rely on your community and enable your community. We, the psychologists, can be the enablers of communities. I have had psychologists who were authorities for me. And I also learned from these projects that to men it also hurts. We psychologists haven't known what to do with that for very many years. What will I be speaking today? I will be speaking about the general scientific basis on men's psychology. Dovilė has said something about that. I will continue on the same line. I will also speak about men movements globally, and I will speak about the Tribes project, our methodology, challenges, opportunities, our vision, and I will also speak about our lessons learned. And afterwards, two men from our project will speak about their experiences. First of all, the different views on the male mental health. I can affirm that male mental health is a controversial topic. There is no one view on it. There is a topic that arises much emotions. I've been working in suicide prevention for a decade or more, but the suicide topic is not such an emotional topic compared to the gender topic. It's because all of us have a gender. We have a mother and a father. We have some points that are difficult to us, but this topic is very important for everybody. There are like two camps. The earlier approach that appeared not so long ago. And in the 90s in the USA, a group was founded to work with men's psychology. And as Dovile has said, the psychology of the American Psychology Association based everything on the feminism that was thriving at that time. They based everything on the gender studies, on the critical theory, and they looked at the social influence and the stereotypes, and they didn't care so much about the psychology. They spoke about about how does masculinity harm men and society, and how to help men free themselves from the traditional masculinity. And Dovile has said that these stereotypes, these gender roles. So in the USA, they spoke about how to go away from that. And this trend is now called as a deficient approach, because the masculinity is something that should be changed, that something that is something that you should be free from. I have found an example on an illustration of this approach. These are the aims of this association. To encourage a critical approach on how the social gender forms and limits the male life, help to be completely to work all the potential, and to walk away with the limiting definitions of masculinity, etc. You can see here that the American Psychology Association didn't have a neutral, unbiased approach to masculinity. They were basing themselves on the feminism and other disciplines very popular then. And a couple of years ago, this association published guidelines for psychological practice with boys and men. Everybody was looking forward to these guidelines, but then they were received in a very controversial way, because you can find things very different from other guidelines in this topic. Much of bias and political issues are there in these guidelines, things that psychologists would like to put aside in their work. So these guidelines are considered as very controversial guidelines. The other approach started developing in the UK in the year 2011 in the community of male psychologists. They wanted to learn from the deficient approach and to complement it. And here we can find the psychology that is more known for us, based on the science, on the research, on humanistic, evolutional knowledge. And the focus was considering that the masculinity was approached as something very critical. Now the approach was ethical towards gender. It is very important not to exercise any discrimination on basis of gender, religion, and other issues. So if a person is a man and identifies himself as a man, we shouldn't have a critical view on this person. we should speak not only about similarities of genders, not only about the social differences, but also about the biological differences, having a holistic approach on that. So what are the needs, the unique needs of men and boys, and how does this help to understand women and other genders? So this approach is called the positive approach. It is nice that the American Psychologists Association have changed the goals of the working group and have and now they do not have these the previous goals among their aims. All the community of male psychologists are very happy. And now the British Psychological Society has published also guidelines, psychological interventions on male adults. I will do my best to translate these guidelines into Lithuanian so that our society has access to this publication. There are some good books on male psychology. For example, on the left-hand side, Perspectives in Male Psychology, an introduction. We, in the framework of our project, the tribes have bought quite a number of books, and we have given some of them to the major libraries in Lithuania. If you want to know more about it, you can read this book. Male experiences. I will be speaking about tribes in depth later, but now I will say that the biopsychosocial approach is very important for the tribes. We always have say that we have a gender unique experiences at both the biological, psychological, and social level. It is very important to talk about that for males and for females, for women and for men. It is very important to speak about these experiences with the same gender. If we don't speak about these experiences, we have a negative effect. We can be ashamed. We can feel that we don't understand what happened to us. We don't know what to do in different situations. Here we have these different experiences, biology on the one hand and culture on the other hand. There's always a discussion how much nature or biology and how much culture is there in our experiences. We shouldn't speak only about biology or only about culture, because culture is created by people who are human beings, a biological item. But I have tried to make some kind of list of male experiences. It would be the sexual life. We have different genitals, different pubescence, different sexual arousal. The masturbation is a very different experience. First sexual experiences, first were dreams, impotence, and other urological problems, prostate cancer. These are unique male experiences that should be talked about. Other things are the psychological things. For example, the hyperactivity of men, that boys blindness or word choice. These are things that we do not usually think about that. Now we are in the middle. For example, the attraction to different gender, the courtship, flirting, how to create the relationship, how to initiate a relationship, the sexual life of a couple, and getting the news about pregnancy, relationship when the wife is pregnant, being a father, or parental fraud when a man does not know if the child is his child, or the problems with testosterone. It's a problem in all the countries. This hormone is very important for the cognitive possibilities of a man and for the health in general. The war, what we are facing a war now, mobilization, drafting, it's usually drafting of men in major countries. Understanding, expressing emotions. What we can see from the research, we could not say that men are poorer in expressing or understanding emotions. It's a stereotype. It's usually something from the nature and something from your childhood. We also have punishments for crimes, the punishments for misbehavior, which are much harder than punishments for women. We can also say that the relationship with the father for a boy is very different than for a girl. And if there is no father, a boy will suffer more than a girl. So these are unique experiences. There's also a syndrome called failure to launch. These are young men who cannot go to next stage of their life after the teenage stage. They cannot do a career, cannot leave parents' house. It's too complicated for them. They stay at the parents' house. They start abusing of alcohol, and this phenomena is a very important phenomenon now in the Western world. I don't know how it is called in Lithuania, but it's failure to launch in English. And then we have cultural things, different childhood, war, this divorces, family law, bullying, false or false sexual abuse, stereotypes, gender roles that are changing. These are things that should be talked about, and also the contra stereotypes that the traditional masculinity is bad or toxic. This is also a stereotype that makes a very huge influence.
Visapusiškai vyrų patirtis ir moterų patirtis. Bet čia aš labiau gaudau.
So it is very important to take into consideration both the experience of men and women. And today, in the public, we are so much focused on stereotypes and the cultural impacts, while the biological issues are taboo in our societies. Therefore, this taboo has to be overcome, and we should be speaking about our differences. Today, we are not sufficiently speaking about the unique experiences among men. They have many needs and questions to which they publicly do not necessarily get replies. Therefore, I would like to speak about the men's movements, which are not very well known, but they are worldwide, and they may be very significant in the public. We have such a term, the manosphere, men's sphere. It appeared in the internet, when the internet appeared in the previous century, men started talking to each other in various fora, and they did that anonymously about what they cannot speak publicly. And they started sharing the topics that in America, as a result of the feminist movement, certain topics were taboo. However, this movement is only growing. Although in some places these fora are prohibited and called sexist or hate speech, but they find the place elsewhere then, because men have the need to speak about the unique experiences they encounter. That's why they get united. This is why I want to speak about that, because the young generation of men in Lithuania really get involved in this movement, and they watch YouTube, they see and they observe the internet, they know English, and they want to know what is happening in the world. And this is one branch. We have one branch of this movement. These are pickup artists, men who actually try to find a girl, to be able to get into a relationship with a girl, a lady. And can't you imagine how many bad things are being taught there? There are so many disrespectful things, emotionally not very good skills being taught, but at the same time, it has good things, plenty of good things, but this is kind of underground. Nobody can regulate that. So things happen over there. But many people are interested in that because they have this need. They have the lack of emotional and sexual intimacy, the lack of social skills to get into a relationship, and they are looking for replies. And they find these movements various training, and Lithuanian men do the same. Then we have the red pill. This is, to put it simple, the evolutionary attitude of psychological attitude towards relationship. They try to have a scientific approach towards that, but because this is underground, there's lots of pseudoscience there and sexism, and but many men discover that, and they start reading, not necessarily adopt the proper attitude, but of course there are also very many good things there, because publicly there's very little talk about evolutionary differences among men and women. More and more we hear about stereotypes, but when men need to find something, they find it. And a disturbing branch is incels, involuntary celibate, that is young lads who are isolated, lack social skills, are very socially concerned, maybe they have traumas, and they experience so much pain that they do not have sexual intimacy, and they have so much anger in them. And there have been a few cases in the US when a few young lads belonging to the incels community committed suicide after shooting dead and shooting and killing their peers. And they get into that group because they do not get answers from the public discourse. That's why I wanted to talk to you about these movements. If we want to help men, we have to understand how they take care of their emotional health, how they solve their questions. It's important to understand them. And important is that all those discussions underway in various groups, they have to get out from the underground into the public domain. And then we would keep a constructive conversation. We could speak about relationships, about the emotional and social isolation. We could speak about both cultural and impacts and stereotypes and gender differences. And these topics should be legal and should be publicly discussed. And we would like to invite, we, the tribes, would like to invite men to discuss about that. And we would like to safeguard them from going to the extreme. And this is just an example that those young lads sometimes start shooting down their colleagues, their friends.
Usually, these are teenagers who haven't had a father in their childhood, and they have experienced big social isolation. That was an introduction. Now I will speak about the tribes. I will speak on my personal side. Here you can see me when I was 7 years old with a monkey at school. How do I remember myself? This topic, the masculinity and male identity topic, is very important for me. I remember that in my childhood, I experienced some violence, both physical and emotional, from my schoolmates and also at home. And I lacked male example. I had 3 elder sisters, and when they would come back with a boyfriend home, I wanted to spend some time with this boyfriend because it was a man with whom I wanted to spend some time. I love my father, but he was like some kind of absent in my family. It was not clear for me. What does it mean to be a man? When I was a child, I used to hear that I'm very emotional and that I'm depressive. And when I saw that my parents were arguing, I decided to be different. My mother was for me good, a person for whom I should care, and my father was the bad man in my family. So I decided to be different. Here you can see me 28 years old. I don't remember why I did this photo.
I had just left from a long-term relationship. It got terminated, and it was very painful. And it was not the first relationship that I failed. And I was worried because I was 20 years old and I was at a loss. I was wondering what was happening to me. And I was a psychologist at that time already. And I thought maybe I lack some attachment or maybe I have some personality disorder or depression. Actually, I was reading lots of literature and trying to diagnose myself, but could not find the reply. What did I start doing? I actually started researching in YouTube, in Reddit, and I started trying to find replies behind psychology. And I found many videos where men share their experience what it means to share, to create relationship with women, and they did that absolutely differently. The things that I never heard at the university, and it was an eye opener. I received lots of practical information which actually helped me develop Of course, there were many nonsense things because internet is full of nonsense and erroneous things as well. But I also found many men who convinced me, whom I trusted, and whose values were acceptable to me, and that helped me a lot to move forward. But I got tired of doing that via YouTube, of listening to men who are on the other side of the Atlantic, and I started hearing the term "find your tribe." This is the term used in personal development area. I was lucky that in a year, I was able to discover such a tribe, and a group of men started getting together regularly. An acquaintance offered that we should get together, and we started meeting, started talking about our experience, about our sexuality, and about many other things like health and so on. And I started feeling that actually at that time I was already doing lots of psychotherapy, but I started feeling absolutely different in that group. I started talking about things in that group, started taking off my mask, social mask, sociologist's mask. I found friends, dudes with whom I started eating ice cream together, talking on the street, and I started feeling that this is my backup, which helps me move forward in life. A couple of years later, together with a member of my tribe, VITAS, decided to help other men create such tribes and try to see how this model works. And I felt that I really want to work with men. I realized that if if this area which is neglected helps me, it should help others. This pilot project worked, and there were two more men from this tribe, one marketing specialist, another lawyer, who wanted to join this project, and we started developing the project tribes, establishing men's groups. And at the moment, we have this organization which is very much established for a long time, it looks like. And they are acting, doing serious things. In 2.5 years, we have had 1,300 men who participated in the tribal activity. We have over 130 tribes in Lithuania and abroad, and the men assess that they feel happier by 30% on average to compare their life before and after the tribal movement. And if we can imagine that before the tribes, in Lithuania, there used to be very few psychological therapeutic groups in Lithuania, but now all the year round, 30 or more groups like that start their activities. This is a huge change, and we are so delighted that this is happening because we wanted to make psychological services accessible to men, attractive to men. Every year we have 30 new tribes with at least 10 participants. I think this is a splendid result. We cooperate with the state as well. Public health bureaus bought our services. We hope to continue cooperation with them, and this helps men participate in these groups free of charge. Now we have Men's Welfare Forum, and they represent men's welfare publicly. Okay, so what are the tribes like? How do we work? This is a men's self-development group consisting of 6 to 10 men. They share their responsibilities and they meet officially and they focus on getting to know themselves and feedback and violence-free communication with each other and personal development. Tribes are a community, involving many tribes. And what is the activity of the tribe? It is only natural that um, men have to be selected, and then we form the tribe. And then men have to undergo the course of a tribe. This is a 2-month process where they develop their social skills and they are trained how they can continue meeting independently without a moderator. This is very important because you cannot assign a psychologist for every group if you want this movement to spread. And after this course, the tribe continues to get our support from the overall organization. We help them with various trainings and events, and then there is a community that has various thematic trainings, and many more men go further and become tribe facilitators. That is, men who lead new tribes. We train them according to our own methodology, and then they have new tribes and they develop themselves both in terms of leadership or emotional skills or social skills. This is a good way to realize themselves. I can't say this is a volunteership, but this is not really volunteering because they receive some remuneration. Then we have the event moderator. For instance, if there is a tribe of men wanting to lose weight, they meet with the moderator, or there is a group that of men who experience divorce, then they have a moderator in the topic of divorce. How does the preparation of an independent tribe look like? This is a course of 8 months. The first month is getting to know each other. Second month is internal work, how one can do the work safely. 3, personal objectives. 4, emotions. 5, feedback and conflict management. 6, play. Then we start speaking about the future of the tribe and expectations. And at the end, every man will decide whether they want to stay in the tribe or others decide that it's not for them. And they choose the name of their tribe and continue living independently. In between those meetings, there are one-to-one meetings with their tribe peers, getting to know each other. And then they get some individual training on how to continue the meetings because every participant is moderated by the men themselves. Every time, a different participant. The moderators only help to manage that. Then we have the community behind all that. What does a typical tribe meeting look like? At every typical tribe meeting, we have a few responsibilities. The owner who structures the time, then the moderator that chooses a certain exercise that they will moderate. We start the sessions with mindfulness, with grounding, so that people switch on to a different regime and join the group. Then registration, where every man shares what they had come with. Then 10 minutes for the review of the weekly objectives and discussions. Then we have the exercise, for instance, active listening, or speaking about fathers, or reflecting on their bodies. Then 40 minutes of internal work, where a man will ask for for some time to discuss a painful situation or their question in life, and other men help them with that. And then preparation for another meeting, and 15 minutes for deregistration. That is, they say some concluding words, and then some ritual, concluding ritual. And in a week, people meet again, and this is up to 3 hours. So, what is our long-term strategy? The WHO has developed the mental health services model. Where do I see the tribes in this model? The model has pricey and cheap services, and it's the cheap services that are needed most. The most important issue is taking care of yourself, what we can do ourselves without health specialists, and this is very empowering. Going forward, informal community help, many people need it, and these issues are informal services where people participate. For instance, stress relaxation skills, meditation skills, sports, emotional skills, and community help. And then the primary psychological and psychiatric help, assistance, and then hospitalization, that is the tertiary assistance. The men avoid participating in those formal services and are willing to participate in the informal services. So this is what the tribes need. According to the statistics, the largest number of suicides is among elderly men in rural areas or districts, because professional help is least accessible for them. So that's why they need these tribal services. We are changing the culture because more and more people speak about that, and in this way we change the culture. We act preventively and are moving forward. What else happens in tribes when we notice people who need more, who to whom tribes are not enough? This is positive experience for them to see that other men go visit psychologists too. You take antidepressants, okay? Maybe this is no problem. Maybe maybe I will start taking them too. Maybe this is nothing scary. So this is our objective, to collect, to direct the people who really need official assistance and do that. So what do we learn in tribes? To cohabit, that is, first of all, to live in cohesion, first of all, with me. I should not fear my ideas, my tribe peers. Every tribe, every group has conflicts, and we learn to solve them without violence in a healthy way. And these skills help in their couples, because when they start learning in the tribe to communicate about that, when they are able to manage conflicts in a different way, they take that to their personal life. Then we have also responded that violence is the opposite of um, um, cohabiting, being able to live together. This may be violence against oneself, violence against another, physical, sexual, economic, and emotional violence. Emotional violence is the biggest form of violence. We have to recognize how I emotionally um, how I what kind of emotional violence there is. We are able to prevent that or avoid that because men learn to communicate without violence or manage a conflict without violence. Okay, so what are our 5 values? How can we move from violence to concord? First of all, emotional vulnerability, assertivity that is in with respect. I stand on my grounds, but also respect somebody else's opinion. I look for the golden means. Feedback. This is the value both to accept and to express. Dignity. We take into we try to learn not only to ensure that it is good for me, but also for others, my family, my community, and playfulness. This is another mm, value because the previous 4 sound very serious and boring, while playfulness means that it's nice to be here. And humor is always a good way to solve various issues of life. What are our future plans? What are our future plans? I would like to mention 3 things what we are thinking about. First, we want to create international tribes. Now we are working with the UK and Ukraine. We are trying to make sure that we will be able to help men in Ukraine create tribes, and our methodology will be translated into Ukrainian soon. Then we have female tribes, which we help create. This is a quality area for men. Therefore, we understand that women also need such a model. And then mixed tribes. Of course, it is easiest to start speaking about that within your gender tribe, but it's not necessary to close down. It's much more difficult to speak in a mixed group. There are many more triggers, and it may be more difficult to understand, to hear one another and understand, but this is possible. Of course, we want to engage in scientific research. We cooperate with colleagues from Vilnius University and other universities, and we expect to achieve something good. What are lessons and challenges? A few of them is how to present mental health in a funny way and how to earn public trust. Many people support us, but we also hear such comments as gay sex, sexists, losers, loser group. We do business from people's problems. We speak about women's problems too little. We make the gender absolute and so on. But we try to communicate more about who we are, and very often we feel the lack of trust. Then, how do we help men who are stronger affected? And of course, there's no time for all the ideas. I personally would like to create a good course for men about suicides and help in case of suicide, and also about domestic violence. How can we help the families where a man is violent, and how can we help men who are exposed to violence? Then which messages do not help? One of these is that masculinity stereotypes determine men's problem. As if men stick to their stereotypes. That's why they suffer. But they suffer due to various reasons, like legal inequality, various social problems. And then we say that this is the masculinity which has to be blamed. But yes, masculinity stereotypes do have an impact, but this is not absolute. And plus, this brings controversy. This brings people into opposition. Then criticizing traditional masculinity and bullying, it doesn't help.
The term traditional masculinity is very obscure. We would define traditional masculinity a very different way, each of us. But the very word traditional is like a negative word. And it also brings controversy into a men's circle. They do not want to hear about that because they feel bad about that. And the toxical masculinity, this term has been criticized by researchers as a very bad term, harmful term. Men do not want to participate in gender equality discourse when they hear toxical masculinity being mentioned. If we want to have men seeking for psychological help participating in these discourses, we should not use it. What does help? Speaking about very concrete problems, speaking about the values of the traditional masculinity, seeking psychological to solve psychological problems, and speaking about being brave to seek for help, being brave to solve your problems. Instead of toxic, let's speak about toxic. Instead of toxic masculinity, let's speak about the wrong behavior, like violence, abuse, or bullying, self-destruction. The result will be much better. It's our experience. And some points about men and suicides. I'm very happy that I participate in different tribes events, and I'm approached by different men who say thank you, thanks to tribes I haven't suicided. For me, it's the best thing I could hear. So a couple of things about suicides. We are blind towards the problems of men if we only think about stereotypes. They do have their influence, but it's not the holistic view. There are other things that are very important for men. Many men lack emotional words for expressing emotions, but they can learn that. They learn that in tribes and elsewhere. The topic of healthy anger is very important. Many men engage in self-destruction and tolerate violence, emotional violence, and in this way they move towards self-destruction and suicide. It's a very important topic. The romantic relationship, it's a very vulnerable topic. Many men lack skills for courtship, for flirting, for maintaining a good relationship. There is very little information on that, or the information is somewhere hidden. And these sexual relationships, we do have much information about the communication, but the sexuality this topic lacks information, at least for men. And this is important, and many men suffer because they lack information. It is also very important to know that many men think I will be different, I won't be like my father. We saw conflicts among our parents and having a better relationship with the mother. We are at our mother's side, and now my clients in the therapy, my patients, are trying to get rid of this idea of being different, not being as their father, and instead looking for a more balanced approach to themselves. Thank you. I don't know if I was too long, but I wanted to tell many things, and I did.
Ačiū Antanai už išsamų tiek asmeninį
Thank
pasidalinimą.
you, Antanas, for sharing from the personal point of view, from the professional point of view. Thank you for having shared your experience and your thoughts about the about masculinity, about male problems, about what we define as being as masculinity. We will have some time for questions later. We do have many questions, and if we judge from the number of questions, so your presentation has aroused many emotions, ideas, and wish to discuss. A bit later, we will have some time for the questions, but now I say thank you. It is a good news that you have started this project, that you want to contribute to the general culture that would help. I liked your word, the coexistence with yourself and with others. I will present more people from the tribes. We have here some men from the tribes who will share their experience being part of their tribe.
Netrukus išgirsime vieno iš.
We'll be hearing the experience of one of the tribe members, Martynas. He will speak about his experience, what has it meant for him to be a part of this project. He has some good ideas. So Martynas, you have the floor. Hello. Thank you for inviting us. Speaking about suicide and my experience with the suicidal ideation. One of the stereotypes that I have seen is that a person usually tries to suicide because of one event, one problem. This is not true. In my life, there were many events or many problems. My mother got ill with cancer. She died. I lost my job after 7 years. And in my personal relationship with my girlfriend, she didn't care about me anymore, and she decided to leave me. In every of these problems was like a cold shower for me. I didn't know how to act in these situations. I didn't know what to do. I was alone at home after the funeral because my girlfriend didn't want to be with me. I also lost my job. I also was alone after losing my job. And the only solution in this situation for me was suicide. What I noticed at that time, was that the emotional thinking and the logical thinking are two different things. If you speak about emotions, I think that nobody cares about me. My father, my brother, my friends do not care about me. Logically thinking, I understand that I am important for them. They have their routine, their work. They cannot be with me all the time. But I fell into depression, and it seemed to me that nobody cared about me, nobody loves me, nobody needs me. I was afraid to seek help and to speak, for example, with my father or with my brother. The only thing that helped me was my tribe. We had decided that no matter what happens, we meet each Thursday after work. And we talk, like Antanas has presented, we speak about how I feel now, what I have experienced during this week. In my tribe, I forced myself into going to my tribe and said, I had the knife on my table yesterday and I was planning to cut myself dead. But on the last minute, I texted my brother and changed my mind, but I would have done that. My tribe listened to me. I got lots of attention and it was very valuable. I got lots of positive energy. I felt that I was important. Somebody cared about that. Before, I didn't feel that. I only knew that. But when I was speaking and they were listening to me in my tribe, I saw that I am important. They care. And it is not so bad. It is not so dark in my life that the only solution is suicide. In our tribe, we had other men who had had very strong depression and depression thoughts. And the tribe was that place where we came together, where we helped each other, where we stayed by one other's side, texting every day, speaking every day on phone. We are 8 men in the tribe, so you can share this effort. It's not necessary to text that 7 people text one person each day, but we just share this effort one by one. I started taking medicine, antidepressants, and the tribe was the things that saved me. Sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, I call my tribe mate and tell him, I feel bad, I need to talk. And we would talk and everything would come to a good end. So this is my experience being a member of a tribe. And I really think that a tribe can help a lot, even in suicide prevention. Now, I would like to present other tribe mate, Andrei.
Sveikas. Nesigirdi tavo mikrofono.
Hello.
Va. Dabar ačiū už pristatymą. Mano vardas Andrei.
Thank you for introducing me. I am Andrei. I got involved in the tribal movement a year ago, over a year ago. I grew up in a family where my mom was trying to make me a real man, not like my late father, because my father was sensitive and he was hiding his emotionality behind alcohol. And I decided that my family is going to be different. If a few years ago I would have been asked what was right and what was wrong, I had known what it meant to be a real man. I had my business, realized, and I did everything for my family, for my children. And at the psychological conference, I may say that a priest told me how God is different from a surgeon. God knows really that he is not a surgeon. And when my business started falling apart and my self-realization actually was based on my business for the benefit of my children and my family, I realized that I have no foundation under my feet, no support. When you know very well what is good, and when you lose it, then you have to look for other solutions. And one of the solutions, and me being a man, I felt I have to solve it. And I thought that if there's no person, then there's no problem, because I had huge ambitions. I was greedy, and it led to huge tension, not only for me but also for my family. And I had a question: how all these business problems are going to affect my family life. In Facebook, I saw that there are tribe fiestas, and I decided to join. I went together with my son, who was 13. He didn't know about that, and I actually dragged him into that. And we spoke about that for the first time very openly. And we talked that there are various moments in life. Over there were more than 300 men. And one of the first objectives was to speak in pairs to somebody whom I don't know what is difficult for me in life. And I told him that my business was going bankrupt. And he told me, you know, I've been bankrupt since 2008, and now I manage my finance, but I have another problem: alcohol. So try not to repeat that. Out of 300 people, I found such a tribe member who had similar problems. Men accepted my son as an equal, and I saw how they were reacting to that, how he was reacting to that. There was a meditation on the topic of a father. So I did my job regarding my father. I cried. I had emotions, and then I saw that the same happened to my son. Then I realized that this is the place I want to be. I want my son to grow and have a possibility to talk to men and find solutions and replies. And how will he choose that? It will be his decision. This summer, we went together this summer, he had his first meeting during that fiesta, and it was very important for me. Being a member of the tribe gave me an understanding in terms of communication and leadership. This is leadership which is based on equal opportunities. Men are with me and they have their experiences, their lives, and they are at one level. And they may be both weak and strong, and we can help each other. This is different. I have my tribe. We meet regularly, and this regularity is also important because every week for 3 hours we speak about important things that matter to me. I am also participating as a facilitator, and this is a different experience. I see that in 8 weeks, people who had not known each other come closer and start speaking together about the issues which are not convenient to them. They start drawing the line between what they want and what they don't, and undertake responsibility for that, for what they receive from the tribe and what they give. And they become independent and undertake the responsibility for the things they receive, which they give, and what they do. This is my experience.
Ačiū labai, Andrei, už asmenišką pasidalinimą.
Thank you, Andrei, for a very personal
Netrukus mes turėsim galimybę bent
feedback.
minučių tam tikrai skirsim diskusijai.
Now we will have a discussion. We will try to respond to your questions. We are very delighted that Antanas tried to respond to as many questions as possible, but there are many questions, so I hope that we will be able to discuss them now together. Hello again. Yes, it's a gang. I hope that this gang is ready to answer a few important questions. Everything you have shared has raised many ideas and impressions and for our conference participants. I will start with the following question. Quite often we can hear negative attitudes towards the tribe project. Why do you think when this project exists, there's so much opposition to it? For instance, recently, Aurelia Užkalnytė publicized an article about the masculinity crisis. I see a few reasons. One is very clear, obvious, much of distrust, because this is a very fast-growing project and we are not always communicating about our activities well. Moreover, this is emotionally a very sensitive topic. Gender and masculinity is a very painful aspect for all of us. Also, there are certain critical observations about this project which are correct, because we are not perfect and we have many people coming to join us very injured or thinking wrongly, and of course they do various wrongful deeds, and then of course the word spreads. Of course things happen in these tribes, and I said that there are radical male movements in the world. That's why we want men from these radical movements to join us, tribes, so that we are able to talk to each other and give feedback. Of course, those men who come here do not necessarily behave the way I would like them to behave, but I would like them to stay in the dialogue and receive feedback and become better and better members of our society. I think that the main thing is that the public has not yet got much aware about that. They have stereotypes. If this is a male group, so these are sexists. There are many wrongful thinking, thoughts about that. The public opinion was formed by the public at large rather than the statements by the tribes themselves. We also have supportive comments. I am not a man, but I'm really happy to see a movement being developed which helps men feel better and find a positive masculinity example. And there are many messages like that. Nida Žemaitienė is also sending her support. Thank you for tribes for your enthusiasm and many ideas. Your activities are very important and inspiring. When will I find a question? Yes, I got one. In relation to the presentation by Dovilė and the idea of the subjective realization, understanding of your masculine identity, the question to Andrei is, what to you? What masculinity is to you? How do you find it? Well, a couple of years ago, I was very much convinced about what masculinity is. A man, a businessman, a real man. Now I am looking for this question in myself. What is masculinity? What is masculinity when it is scary? When the war starts, when I have to take care of me, my family, and actually can't have an impact on what is going on. How can I take care of myself when my business is going down and I cannot explain to my family why I am away from them, and I have to find the ways to solve this problem rather than just commit suicide. This is an eternal process. It's a constant relationship to myself. How do I feel? This is an attempt to solve these questions in one or another way. This is about that. It's difficult to respond to this question to me because in 2 years in the tribes, I understood a couple of things. I cannot name what masculinity is. And secondly, I feel more and more masculine. So this is a contradiction. But I no longer struggle with that. Am I masculine? Do I behave as a man? This is no longer a problem for me. This is most important. And I will second on that. I am not clear about what masculinity is, but I feel masculine. And I know that when people say a real man, they mean a mature person. So these values are common values, and they refer to maturity. A person who can manage his difficulties, undertake responsibility for himself, may manage conflicts constructively, looks for solutions. This is related to maturity, a real man versus a boy, an immature boy who cannot undertake responsibility. But of course, a mature person is not only a mature man, it's also a mature woman. That's why we cannot explain what masculinity is. To me, it is important to be a mature individual rather than a masculine man who can take care of himself and his kin. I am heterosexual, and to me, it is important how I get along with the opposite gender. Can I create a good relationship with her? Can I be a good father? I showed you my picture. It was very difficult for me to realize myself as a father. I could not imagine that I could have a child. At that time, I didn't have a family. Now, having talked to many men who have families, for instance, you, Andre, you to me are a reputable person. I now have a vision. I imagine what my family would look like. And I feel the same as other men, and I am so delighted with that vision. I want to move forward towards that. So this masculinity is very important for me. This is a relationship with the opposite gender. Okay. I was speaking about women in these groups and in what terms. Some people may have various questions or some concerns. Many men in large groups do not necessarily demonstrate and cause positive thoughts, especially when experience something negative. How is the woman reflected in the tribe? If a man mentions the word woman in the tribe, then we cast them out from the tribe. No, this is a joke. Of course, this is the major topic we are talking about. This is one of the major topics. There are many experiences, and the age group is huge, from 18-year-olds to pensioners. So we have many experiences. For instance, my experience is that one psychologist said that in 20 years of common life with your wife, your life will be easier. Now, it has been 20 years, 21 that we have been living together, but it has not yet become easier. Some people are divorced. Some are experiencing some painful situations now with their wives, mothers, daughters. There are different experiences, and we share that. And to summarize, we speak about the opposite sex through our experience, what we had, what we experienced, what we learned, and how we can help others. In tribes, men encourage each other to speak about their personal experiences rather than philosophize. We want to have deep experiences. We don't want to speak about politics, theories, and so on. This has to be practical, what I feel, what I experience. Thank you very much. I think that our conference participants have been able to get more insights into what you do. I think that you speak about important things that are necessary, that help everyone discover their relationship with masculinity, however you define it or don't define it. Thank you very much for personal sharing and professional sharing, and for speaking about your future plans. I will now give the floor to Paulius, and then we will close